Hello again, Dominic Tropher, and welcome to another video. And this time it's actually something Doctor Who related. So all of you, I bet you're glad now. I'm very glad to do another Doctor Who video because I've not done one in a while, and I kind of missed not doing one actually. So I'm back on track to be doing a few Doctor Who videos for a while. Gaming, video games, and all that stuff is taking a back seat. Doctor Who's back, and I'm going to be doing more videos about it. So this one is actually a bit of a thoughts and opinions video. And it's about certain incarnation of the Doctor. But my thoughts about this are, and I wonder if you have the same thoughts as well. To me, who is the most underrated incarnation of the Doctor? Now, this actually is a very interesting question because each and every incarnation has their own flaws, has their own, great points to them, but they also have their flaws. But to me, who is the most underrated incarnation of all? To me, I've got 2 points, but I'm going to start my first one. The first one is the Sixth Doctor, played by Colin Baker. Now, for those that know but they don't know, Colin Baker's era didn't really go very well. The thing was, it started extremely well, and then down the line, it pretty much flopped. So it did. Now, he started in 1984, and the one thing that was interesting, I think, for the time was that the change in pace, because obviously this was like coming to the mid 1980s, and the one thing that made I think the era interesting was how he came into it. Now, obviously, he came into the 21st season at the end, but usually with certain incarnations, they usually regenerate at the end of the story, and then obviously you got the whole new series with the new Doctor. This one was interesting because obviously the Fifth Doctor regenerated into the Sixth Doctor in the last episode of the penultimate story of season 21, the case of Androzani, and then obviously the next story with the Twin Dilemma with the newly generated Sixth Doctor, which is pretty good. But then obviously you had about after that story, because basically it was the last story of the series. Then season 22 was obviously coming the following year. But the thing was that fans had to wait obviously near 10 months, and they didn't really get to see what the Sixth Doctor was like. They had to wait all that time to see what it was like. And I think that was a bit of an interesting thing of how it happened. Sorry. So then season 22 came, and the Sixth Doctor basically turning like a bit of a darker incarnation, which I think was pretty interesting for the time, even though I wasn't there. But I've watched it on DVDs, and I actually like the Sixth Doctor's era. And it's interesting how he goes darker, but sometimes they actually made it too darker. Made him feel a bit hostile, if I say that. And I think that was one thing that was a shame with it. That's just, how it was. And then obviously, season 23 came now. Around this time, like 1985, 1986, when we were planning the series 23, this is where Doctor Who began to waver a bit, because in February 1985 we saw the first cancellation of Doctor Who. They cancelled it due to the fact that the control at the time, Michael Grade, the Michael Grade that we all despise, he hated the program. He despised the heck out of it, and he did not like Doctor Who. He thought it was, a waste, and he thought it was pretty much rubbish. Because of the fact there were more, sci-fi films coming out, Star Trek, Star Wars, E.T. as well, all that stuff, and he preferred that, instead of Doctor Who. So then around that point, they were planning the original series 23, but the whole thing pretty much scrapped because of the fact they wanted to, shorten it down by episodes. So what they did was they made the Trial of the Time Lord series, season 23. But the one thing that's interesting about that series is, usually within a series you got sets of stories, haven't you? Known as serials at the time. And even now we have stories that might be like, a standalone episode, a 2-part episode, or, last recent, a 3-part episode. So those episodes, are a full story. But with series 23, season 23, the full series was one story. It was one story told over 14 episodes, which I think is very, very interesting. Now, I've not seen that series, but I want to sometime, and that's the thing. But then, obviously, Doctor Who came back on in 1986 after an 18-month hiatus. And then, after season 23, that's when things were still going down. Colin Baker was fired from the role due to the fact that Grade hated him. Michael Grade did not like him. And he really wanted him off the set. He wanted Doctor Who to continue on, but he did not like Colin Baker. And I remember thinking, how come he didn't like him? Was it something he did? Did it hurt him or bully him? It was nothing like that. It turned out that in Michael Grade's social life, his best friend Lisa Goddard, she married Colin Baker. And after they were divorced, obviously she moved in with Michael Grade because they were really, really good friends. And from that point, he really, really despised him. And so the thing is, that's the problem now with a lot of people. In reality, when you're in work, sometimes your social life can corrupt your work life, thinking, well, this person, he did something wrong to me when we did something during our social lives, that's why I don't like him. The thing is, social life and your work life should never mix, and that's the problem that happens with a lot of people. So, fortunately, Colin Baker was fired. Now, around this time, they were obviously planning for the new series, to air in 1987. But the problem was that they didn't have a lot of time to, get the whole scripts, get, the filming stuff. That's the thing, they only had a short time to do stuff. But the main problem with that was that they didn't have an incarnation. They had no Doctor Who. Since Colin Baker were fired, what were they supposed to do? I don't think they were going to bring him back, even though he wanted to come back. But their only option was to move forward and get a new actor. So by the end, they got Sylvester McCoy. Now, Sylvester McCoy played the 7th Doctor, and I think he did a really, really good job, for the last few years before it got cancelled in 1989. But around this time, the main thing that they wanted was obviously a regeneration scene, which is the most important thing when it comes to Doctor Who, because the thing was that season 24, that was originally a 6th Doctor series, but since it didn't happen, obviously it turned into a 7th Doctor series, and by that point, they wanted Colin Baker to come back to film the regeneration scene. Now, originally the idea was that he wanted to come back to do the full series, but they didn't want him to do that. So his next option was for him to be part of the first story time when they ran it, which he thought was a good idea, but he thought it was pointless to be in the first full story and then that's it. If you want to do it, you'd rather go all the way. They declined that offer. So his last offer was for him to film a regeneration scene and then basically you're done. That's it. To be there for a few minutes and that's it. So what happened was that Colin Baker actually declined the offer. And I don't blame him because of the fact it would have made it pointless for him to be there for a few minutes and, that's it. Goodbye number 6, hello number 7. That's just how it would have been. So with that, he declined the offer, which I don't blame him. I would have actually done that if I was him. So instead, they actually got Sylvester McCoy to play the Colin Baker's Doctor, regenerating into his actual Doctor. And they put him into a blonde wig, and most people really consider it's like one of the worst regenerations because of how it is. And the one thing that was interesting with it was it started at the beginning. That's just how it is. And it's one of the most unplanned regenerations to ever happen, and I think that's one thing that makes it interesting. But years down the line, Colin Baker always regretted that, and last year, after 28 years, we finally got an actual regeneration scene with the 6th Doctor. Thanking Big Finish, and I think with Big Finish, they've really made the 6th Doctor look extremely great. Colin Baker's done a lot of Doctor Who with Big Finish, and that's the thing, and they are to really thank to do that. For him to actually get his regeneration scene, as he really felt like the odd one out, and he said every incarnation after me does not count because of the regeneration scene, and he loved to do it, and I think that's why I think Colin Baker's very underrated Doctor Who.